What's up, YouTube? Jeff, your Style O.G. And on today's video, we're gonna debunk 10 of the biggest sex myths. If you're new to the channel, we release a new video every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, discussing various men's lifestyle topics such as style, grooming, and dating. I invite you to subscribe, tap that notification bell, and join us. And to my returning friends like Alan Callahan, salute. Now, without a doubt, some of the biggest misinformation a lot of us guys have been exposed to as we've grown up and even as grown men is misinformation and myths about sex. Whether it's through pop culture or your peers, there's a lot of things about sex we just get wrong. And on today's video, we're gonna try to fix a lot of these misconceptions. On today's video, we're gonna talk about 10 of the biggest sex myths a lot of us guys believe, and we're gonna debunk them. So without any further delay, let's hop right into it. Now, right at the top of the list of the biggest sex myths, pun intended, is that we believe bigger is always better when it comes to penis size. A lot of us grew up thinking if we didn't have a 12-inch penis, we weren't gonna be satisfying women. It couldn't be farther from the case. Here's the thing, there are some women that are size queens, but in general, most women are satisfied by an average sized penis. In fact, I need you to know some of the most sensitive parts of a woman's vagina is 1 or 2 inches inside. Most of us have at least 1 or 2 inches. And here's where a lot of guys get things wrong. They don't realize the average penis size is really about 5.5 inches. What can be a problem is if you're on the extremes, the 12-inch guy or the 2-inch guy. A woman is much more easily satisfied if you're skilled with the penis you have, not the size of it. So stop comparing yourself to the guys you've watched on porn. Those are close-ups, those are actors. Trust me, having a big penis is not nearly as important as you think it is. Next up on the list of the biggest sex myths is a stereotype that's been heaped upon us fellas. It's the belief that men are always ready for sex. That's just not true. We've been made to believe that most men are walking around horny 24/7. That's just not the case. Just like any drive when it comes to a human being, our sex drive has ebbs and flows. If you're a guy out there who isn't thinking about sex every day, all day, that doesn't make you abnormal. You're very normal. Sex is a complex thing, and your libido or sex drive is complex as well. Don't believe the hype that men have this constant, consistent sex drive and never will turn down a sexual opportunity. Yes, we might think about sex a little bit more than the ladies, but believe you me, men aren't always ready for sex. What if you're one of the guys out there who literally has a problem being ready for sex? You're suffering from erectile dysfunction. Many of the guys out there who deal with ED suffer in silence. They either blame themselves or brush it off. And understandably, they have a very difficult time discussing it. But with today's video sponsor, Roman, ED is much easier to talk about. Roman will connect you directly with a healthcare professional. And if approved, that healthcare professional can prescribe you the real medicine you need to help treat your erectile dysfunction. And the great thing about Roman is simple, safe, and discreet. With Roman, you get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for your ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your own home. And getting started with Roman is very simple. All you have to do is go to getroman.com/style and fill out an online visit. A healthcare professional will work directly with you and come up with the best treatment plan specifically for you. And if medicine is deemed appropriate, Roman will ship that medicine right to your door with free 2-day shipping. And as I mentioned, treating your erectile dysfunction with Roman is very simple, straightforward, and discreet. You get to handle this problem all from the comfort and privacy of your very own home. Now, not only did Roman sponsor today's video, they're offering the Style O.G family a special discount. All you have to do is go to getroman.com/style, and if approved for medicine, you'll get $15 off your first ED treatment. You don't have to suffer in silence anymore. It used to be hard to talk about erectile dysfunction, but now there's Roman. Now, next up is a sex myth a lot of us fell victim to, myself included, coming up. It's the belief that every time you have sex, if a woman doesn't have a vaginal orgasm, you're not pleasing her. Now, a lot of us got these cues from pop culture and porn. We were led to believe that every time a woman has sex, she has this mind-blowing, explosive orgasm. In fact, most women don't have an orgasm every time they have sex. On the average, a woman will have a vaginal orgasm around 25 to 30% of the time. But does that mean she's not enjoying her sexual experiences the other time? No, it doesn't. Sex is about the journey, not always the destination. That one moment of orgasm. In fact, there's a lot of women who've never had a vaginal orgasm, but they still love sex. Now, that doesn't mean if you notice your woman not having any vaginal orgasms, you don't discuss it. You guys should talk about it. But you might be very surprised. It's not as big a deal to her as it might be to you. Don't fall for the myth that if you don't make a woman have an orgasm every time, you're not satisfying. Next up is a sex myth that's very easy to debunk with good old biology. The belief that a lot of fellas have that marijuana and alcohol improves their sexual performance. That belief just goes against the way your body works. The way we achieve an erection is by increased blood flow to our penis. You know what alcohol and marijuana do? They're depressants. They slow blood flow. Now, my theory is that a lot of guys, when they take in alcohol or marijuana, it relaxes them or lowers their inhibitions. It has a placebo effect. They believe they perform better, so they do. Just like with a lot of placebos, they can have a positive effect. But alcohol and marijuana themselves are not having a direct effect on your performance. In fact, it's the exact opposite. They're depressants, lowering your blood flow. So although smoking some weed or drinking some Hennessy might put you in the mood, it's not directly helping you. Now, debunking this next myth, hopefully will put a lot of guys out there minds at ease. It's the belief that you think every guy out there is having way more sex than you are. This couldn't be farther from the truth. I know a lot of guys, especially my fellas who aren't super successful with women, think other guys are just bedding down a new chick every weekend. That's a bald-faced lie. In fact, we're men here. We deal with statistics and data. Did you realize that the average American man, by the time he's 55, will have around 17 or 18 sexual partners? That's over the course of about 40 years. He's definitely not having sex with a new chick every month. In fact, 1 out of 3 American men ages 18 to 24 have had no sexual activity over the last year. So just because you're not bedding down a new chick every other week, you're not alone. Most guys aren't. Now, next up is a huge sex myth that a lot of people believe that I definitely want to dispel. It's the belief that some guys just naturally know how to please a woman. I'm here to tell you that's just not true. Being able to please a woman isn't something you're born with. Being able to please a woman is a skill you develop over time with more experience. And let me clue you in on another secret. Almost every woman is different. So every time you take on a new sexual partner, it's a learning experience. You aren't innately gonna know how to take care of her. Not only will you get better overall with more sexual experiences, the more you have sex with your current partner, the better you guys' sex will be. So don't believe the myth that some guys are just born with the ability to please women in bed. This is a skill that's developed over time and is different with every woman. Next up on the list of the sex myths we have to debunk might be the most important one, and the one a lot of guys get fooled by. The belief that sex is like you see it on porn. Now, this one is definitely a myth. Do you think you're really gonna come home to an unexpected threesome? And as we mentioned earlier, porn will have you believing your woman will have this mind-blowing orgasm every time you have sex. Not to mention the expectation that you'll be engaging in intercourse for 45 minutes to an hour. Watching porn and having the expectations that your sex life will match up to it is definitely a big mistake. Most of the time, sex is much more awkward and less exciting than what you're seeing on porn. Real life sex and porn sex, not the same. Now, next up is another myth we're gonna debunk with good old biology. And I'm not ashamed to say, this is one I fell for as well coming up. The myth that you can tell how many men a woman has slept with because she'll have a loose vagina. Let me help you out with that one with a little biology. A woman's vagina expands when she gets excited. It helps to accommodate the sexual process. But when you stick your penis in, the vagina actually contracts back to make sex more pleasurable for you and her. And after sex, a woman's vagina may feel a little looser, but it quickly reverts back to its normal size a few minutes later. So nah, bruh, you can't tell a woman's body count based on how loose her vagina is. It goes right back to its normal size every time. Now, next up is a myth a lot of people believe, and I'm talking about men and women. The belief that when you're having sex in a satisfied relationship, masturbation decreases or ceases. That's just not the case. In fact, when you're having good sex, most people masturbate even more because they're more turned on. They're thinking about their partner when they're not with them. You continue to masturbate or your partner does as well, don't be alarmed. It's not because either person isn't being pleased. Masturbation is a normal, regular part of your sex life, whether you have a great relationship and good sex with your partner or not. People masturbate more when they have a happy sex life. Next up is a sex myth us guys tend to fall a victim to way more than the ladies do. It's the belief that intercourse equals sex and sex equals intercourse. It's just not the case. Remember we were talking earlier about the female orgasm, and I encourage you guys to pay attention to the journey, not just the destination. The same rules apply here. Sex is a multi-layered process. It involves mental and physical components. And the more you build up trust and have better communication with your partner, sex gets better. That has nothing to do with the actual intercourse. And contrary to what porn would have you believe, the actual intercourse is only gonna last about 7 or 8 minutes anyway. All the other components, especially foreplay, is gonna last a lot longer. It only stands to reason intercourse isn't the be-all, end-all. Yes, you wanna get better at the actual intercourse, but if you wanna have better, more pleasing sex, both for you and her, put a lot more focus on the other components of sex. Remember, intercourse doesn't equal sex. It's just a component of it. So as you can see, we've been fed a lot of misinformation when it comes to sex. There's a bunch of myths when it comes to sex that definitely can lead you astray. Hopefully I debunked a lot of them for you and put you at a little bit more ease as well. My goal overall was to give you a much more realistic picture when it comes to sex. Now as always, I love to have your input. Let me know in the comment section, what are some sex myths you believe a lot of people fall victim to that just aren't true?